ঠিক আছে।
Hello, viewers. You're watching the Policy Times special show, India Policy Show. This is a unique show in India where we talk about any particular policy issue and we try to bring answers to that problem. Now, in the world, there are many different kind of economic system that exist. Some countries practice socialism. Some countries used to practice communism. There are some countries still practicing it, and the capitalist model of economic functioning has been largely practiced by many countries across the world, and that is the actually subject today. As we are suffering from this corona pandemic, I think a lot will change, not only from our behavioral perspective, but also the way economies, countries, or societies function. Now, to talk on this, there is no better person than Dr. Arindam Chaudhuri, a renowned. Dr. Arindam Chaudhuri needs no introduction. In fact, I think whoever person till date I have spoken to, at least in India, he knows Dr. Arindam Chaudhuri by name. Arindam Chaudhuri is an economist, he is a management guru, author, speaker, and transformation leader. He is the honorary director of IIPM think tank, and he's an editor in chief of dailyindian.com, the Sunday Indian, Business and Economy magazine, 4 Piece Business and Marketing, Human Factor. Dr. Chaudhuri has produced and directed a couple of very famous movies, starting Rok Sakuto Roklo was his debutant movie as a producer and director. Then he went on directing and producing many famous movies like The Last Layer, Do Duni Char, then Faltu. These were very hit movies. In fact, Do Duni Char won the National Film Fare Award in 2011. The Last Layer was again one of the best feature film noted. He's also produced a couple of books. The latest one being Beyond God and Capitalism. I think that is one of the most interesting books that I have recently read, and we will discuss about the subject of the book. In fact, today's talk is actually on that. He has also written Discover the Diamond in You, Count Your Chickens Before They Hatch is one of the very famous and bestsellers globally. The Great Indian Dream, Restoring Pride to a Nation Betrayed. Very interesting. Thorns to Competition. These are a couple of books. The Cult, again, Leadership and Business Strategy was a very nice book. The list goes on. He's not only, as I know, Dr. Chaudhuri he's a thinker. And the beauty is that he thinks solution of a problem or analysis of an issue from out of the box. That's the beauty. Now, Dr. Chaudhuri, welcome to our show, and thank you so much for giving us time. The first thing I want to ask you, in your latest book, you say that religion and capitalism are the two biggest roadblocks to equality and peace. Can you elaborate further on this? Dr. Chaudhuri, can you hear us? Okay, I think there is a little sound issue.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Right. Dr. Chaudhuri, the first thing I wanted to ask you, thank you so much for joining us for this.
Pleasure, Akram. Absolute pleasure joining you.
So in your latest book, in fact, Dr. Chaudhuri, you have written that religion and capitalism are the two biggest roadblocks to equality and peace. And before that, you have also written that all human beings are born equal, not in terms of ability and intelligence. So can you elaborate us a little bit on this?
Of course, when they teach us science in primary school, they teach us Darwin's theory.
Right.
And if anybody who studied Darwin's theory would know that human being as we have evolved over about 7 million years, out of which the last 3 million years have been specifically special. It defines human beings because of the way our brain has evolved and distinguished ourselves from our immediate known forefather chimpanzees. So this evolution is only possible through Darwin's theory of natural selection,
Right.
which basically means that unless and until there was inequality, there would be no evolution. We evolve only when there is inequality, and that's how we evolve. And inequality is a basic fact of life without which evolution is simply not possible. This is basic Darwin's theory. So human beings are born not equal in terms of ability and intelligence, but equal in terms of rights. And that's the most important thing. We are all born equal. I can't say that your intelligence and my intelligence are same. You could be far more intelligent. But what I can definitely say is, by the fact that we are born, we both deserve equal rights in terms of right to live, right to health, right to education, and basic amenities. So and today a right to human development and humanity actually tells us that our rights are not just about having food to eat and a small shelter, but good living. Good living is our right. And that is how human beings are not necessarily born equal in terms of ability and intelligence, but they are born equal in terms of the rights that they have, especially in terms of the basic rights of health, shelter, education. But today, in a globalized world, in a world where humanity claims that it is much more evolved, in that kind of a world, our equal rights are also in terms of good living, universal basic income. And that is how I consider human beings equal, and not necessarily always in terms of ability and intelligence, but in terms of right.
And why do you say that capitalism is a roadblock to the peace and equality of the society in this context?
Yeah, of course. Capitalism is driven by a concept which is anti human. So, if I just spoke about Darwinism can't survive without the concept of survival of the weakest. Survival of the fittest is the key point of Darwinism. If you don't have the fittest survive, Darwinism doesn't survive. And the moment you talk about humanity, the only single focus of humanity should be survival of the weakest.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we never focus on survival of the weakest. And capitalism symbolizes this uneducated, illiterate version of trying to superimpose Darwinism on economic system. And like shameless, uneducated rogues, we have economists after economists coming openly and telling, well, survival of the fittest is the way of life. That's how Darwinism works. And therefore, capitalism is most suited to the world. No. Survival of the fittest is the way of natural selection in a jungle life. And humanity is about leaving the principles of jungle life. That is what our brain has done to ourselves. Our brain has evolved in a manner that when somebody slaps your little child, you cry. And that's the speciality of a human being. That's speciality of human evolution. It's millions of years of evolution that has taught us how to cry. It is millions of years of evolution that has taught us how to feel for our parents, our brothers and sisters, our friends, our neighbors.
Right.
And humanity is not the same as Darwinism. So while Darwinism is the essence of how human beings came to be, humanity needs to leave the Darwin's theory in the jungles only and focus on survival of the weakest. And this is where capitalism fails. Capitalism prides itself in defining itself through the concept of survival of the fittest. And survival of the fittest is the law of jungle. It's the law of uncivilized, uncouth rogues. People who shamelessly come out and say that we believe in survival of the fittest don't deserve to be called economists, don't deserve to be called politicians. And any system that bases itself on survival of the fittest is a shameful, rogue, and inhuman system. And capitalism is exactly that. And if I talk of survival of the fittest in my neighborhood, in an economic system, then that economic system can't be peaceful because it is non conducive to peace. It is conducive to hatred. It says that I must be fitter to survive, and there is no shame in trying to be fitter. So there was a point, the entire evolution of capitalism has been actually through muscle power, through guns. That's how we have tried to survive. And we have become the fittest. Capitalism have evolved through exploitation with the use of muscle power, gun, and horses. And the more of it I had, the more land I captured, the more I could reach the place with better natural resources. The more I said, this is my natural resource, the more I killed. Its foundation is on blood. And an economic system whose foundation is blood, whose foundation is greed, whose foundation is murders, whose foundation is wars, whose foundation is essentially inhuman, cannot be conducive to peace. And that is why capitalism is the most shameful form of economic system. Doesn't matter that there has been innovation. Doesn't matter that it encourages entrepreneurship. You can encourage entrepreneurship even in a socialist system. You have great innovations in socialist system. And if socialism is a taboo word because people who practice socialism were essentially dictators, then call it humanism. And in the world of humanism, you can have enough innovation, enough entrepreneurship, and you can create a much better world than this greed-driven system has created. And this greed-driven system, which owns media, propagates that this is the best system.
We have, thank you so much. It's a very bold statement, in fact, you've made. But the point came very clear that survival of the fittest does not go hand in hand with the survival of the weakest. And when we talk about humanism, it is always survival of the weakest. How you take care of the weakest section of the society. That's what matters the most. So that's a wonderful point to make. The second part I want to come, the Reuters have done a research which says that 56% people overall globally do not feel that, or they say that capitalism has done more harm than any goods for the society. And that percentage for India is even larger. My point is, in India, maximum people, or in today's generation, I want to talk about especially, by default, we are into part of the capitalist era, having no knowledge about the basic principles of capitalism, basic principles of socialism. By default, we embrace, just like a person born with a religion adopts that religion as part of it. Similarly, we are adopting capitalism as part of our, society. This part. How do you see capitalism impacting practically in Europe, in America, and especially in India, every Indians?
In Europe and America, at least we can say there is capitalism. In India, we don't have capitalism. In India, in the name of democracy, we have demonocracy. And in the name of capitalism, we have a politically driven and manipulated encouragement of oligarchy. So that is, oligarchy is not capitalism. capitalism is based on the basic philosophy, at least the way in Europe and America they have practiced it. They have made it very clear that in a free market, there will be no collusion. In a free market, you are not going to allow oligarchic forces to operate. And so today, in, in the world of media and internet, when Amazon, Facebook, Google rule, the Americans and the Europeans are combining forces together to make sure that these oligopolistic monopoly forces are broken down. Now, in India, there is no such concept. In India, we have politically calculated an illusion where people feel we have a free market and we feel that we can become great entrepreneurs. But the fact of the matter is that the political class promotes oligarchy. And the political class calculates and helps about 5 to 7 big industrialists survive and become richer. So we are not even a true capitalist society in a sense the way they are there in America or in Europe. Having said that, you know, the current crisis that we have, the biggest in our lifetimes, or almost the biggest in over exactly a century, has made it very clear that the countries which have invested in past on health, egalitarian societies like South Korea, like Germany, the Scandinavian countries, they have been able to cope up with this entire problem much easier, to the extent that a country like Sweden didn't even go for a lockdown because
Right.
they're so confident that our healthcare system is so strong and it's not going to collapse with the number of cases that they expected, and it didn't collapse. So, when you go on a lockdown the way it has happened, and when you go on a lockdown where suddenly overnight you have about 30 million people unemployed, even in a country like US, the only force that can help you survive is a socialist force. The only force that people will want more of in future is a force of humanity, is a force where governments will be forced to invest on healthcare systems, on universal basic income systems, on making sure that food is a basic human right. And when you make these things happen in a country, and today so many people I meet, they say that, wow, in lockdown, and of course, these are fortunate people, not the unfortunate people who are stranded on the streets without food. But those who could manage food, who are able to manage food, and even those who have got some access to government support system, they today say, and not just in India, worldwide, that this is a beautiful system. All we need is now our freedom to walk out. And I wish this is how life was. We get food to eat, we get basic minimum necessities taken care of by the society, and we lead a life the way we want to. Who said ever, and I repeat, whoever said that a human being was born to get up at 6 in the morning, rush, get ready, brush, go to the washroom, wear a tie, suit, run in a metro to the office, 9 o'clock, 9 to 5, you have to work. Who said these are man made systems? We are not meant to work. We were not born to work 9 to 5. Human beings were born to have food, to enjoy life, to have sex, and to sleep. And a good society is that society which allows a human being to do exactly that and therefore leaves him free to decide what he wants to do. Chase his passion, paint, do journalism, write books, make music, make poetry, invent, create business. Somebody is passionate about working 9 to 5, go ahead and work 9 to 5. But I must have the freedom to choose. I must have the freedom to choose what I want to do. And I cannot choose what I want to do till I have social security. And coronavirus, has shown people a world of social security. How a world can be without any chase for material luxury, any chase for material madness. Today, cars, SUVs are piled up on the sea and there are no buyers. Maruti in India didn't sell a single car last month.
Right.
Are we any worse off? Not at all. So, so, so this entire lockdown has shown the world the power of systems based on social security. Give me social security, and I will have the happiest life. And you will suddenly see that if you can give me shelter, dignified shelter, if you can give me food, if you guarantee my health, and if you give me good education, I don't need, I will not be chasing cars. I will not be chasing material luxury. Some people maybe, but many other people would be very happy spending time with their family and working only 2 hours whenever they want to. Who said that I need to work for 8 hours? We have created this entire system. We have created this society in a manner that we fool people into believing that this is how life is supposed to be. This is not how life is supposed to be. This is not the way we were supposed to be. We are supposed to be born to get equal rights and to chase our passion. And if there is any economic system that doesn't allow us to do that, then it is harmful for human happiness. And capitalism is bound to evolve. It was evolving. Scandinavian countries are no more capitalist, actually.
Right.
Um, it is already evolving, but more importantly, this crisis will make this evolution of a greed based system into a social security based system very fast. America is going to move towards it. It's unfortunate that Bernie is not the Democratic candidate. If he would have been, then we would have seen it much faster. But COVID has made sure that a Trump, a Biden, everybody is going to force to look at the economic system in a different way. They'll be forced to have a social security based system and give social security, and you will see people doing whatever they want to. Who wants to work? Nobody.
So a better social security system gives more freedom and more choice to people. That's what Professor Chaudhuri.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we, if you believe in human freedom, then capitalism is the worst system. Capitalism is an exploitative system. On pen and paper, it calls itself democratic. In reality, it is the most exploitative system to imprison human beings into a, a machine. And, and the success of capitalism lies in making human beings into a 6x3 brick that can be fitted into the walls of the greedy emperors who run this system.
Right. Dr. Chaudhuri, I want.
Freedom,
Right.
and it is anti-democratic, and it doesn't give human beings free life. It imprisons us in a 9 to 5 system of the rich and greedy.
Dr. Chaudhuri, given the current crisis, COVID-19 crisis that we see across the world, I think more than the human life lost, there is a massive impact on the economic front. Many economies, or the entire world is in recession. Different countries would be fighting this war of coming
ঠিক
out of
আছে
recession in 2023. Given India's challenges, hello viewers, you're watching the Policy Times, and take care of your people. Huge they will make India a massive. They will make people to feed large. Thank you so much. Keep watching of 50 crore people to feed. That is one. Thank you so much, sir, for being us. How will a country like India
thank
recover from
you.
this massive crisis? On the other hand, there is a massive race also going on across the world of who become the next superpower. And in this race, while America still exists in the race, but their GDP will go down according to the latest IMF report. On the other hand, China is making a new entry, and maybe China will be a bigger economy than United States soon. In this race, India is always there. 50 years before India was in the race. I think even today it is in the race. 50 years down the line, what will happen? We will try to understand from your view. How will India not only feed its poor, not only meet its domestic own challenges of unemployment, job creation, innovation, large scale industrialization, on the other hand, how do we really fit into the race of being a superpower or an economic giant?
You know, I have been never a fan of winning any kind of race. As an economic system, we don't need to be the largest economy. As an economic, as a military system, we don't need to be the biggest superpower. Simply because these are peace times, and in peace times, even investing in military is a crime. And today we are investing more than Russia on military.
Right.
And I'm shocked to see the latest statistics. So there is absolutely no need to be a superpower. There is absolutely no need to become the biggest economy. China already is the biggest economy. And great if China is the biggest economy. If tomorrow we become the biggest economy while taking care of the poorest of poor of this country, fantastic. But that's not our aim. Our aim is to create a system which should have social security for the bottom 80%, 85%. A nation's aim should be to create a system which takes care of the poorest of poor. And our country's aim must be and should only be to take care of our marginalized bottom 85%. And to do that, we don't need to become an economic superpower. To do that, we don't need to become a military superpower. We need to become a very peace-loving, humanity-loving, happy system which focuses only on social security, only on making sure that the average pathetic age that we have 68, which actually in case of majority, it is much lesser because the rich live 80, 85. So the poor only live 45, 50. So our aim should be to make sure that our poor start living 75 years. Our aim should be to make sure that we can have education accessible to the poorest of the poor. These things hardly cost anything. Our aim should be to make sure that in urban cities there are no slums. And our aim should be to make sure that in poorer villages, their living conditions are humane. Our aim should be to make sure that everybody gets universal basic income in a manner that they can eat healthy. And if we can do that, then we have created a beautiful economy, a great economic system, a great superpower. We'll be the superpower of humanity. And the more important thing in this world is today to become a superpower of humanity. The largest nation which believes in humanity, which has created the most peace-loving, humane system in the world. We should be proud of that, and we should be focusing on that. And this COVID is our golden opportunity to make sure that we can create that kind of a system sooner than later. So, so it's that race is unnecessary. But having said that, I will answer your question as well. For years, I've been telling that I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea what greed does to the brain. And the greedy Americans and Europeans, they became idiots, chasing bits of more money, and therefore went and invested in the world's biggest unreliable, non-democratic economy, and became completely subject to their whims and fancies. They didn't realize, and pandemic shouldn't have taught them. It is basic common sense. Basic common sense says that if a country is non-democratic and all your investments are there, tomorrow they can just lock down your factories and say, get lost. And your entire production system stops. Your entire investments go bad because China has stopped your entire production process. There is no input coming in. All your wealth is destroyed overnight. But the greed is so much to make that little few cents of extra profit that they compromise. On one hand, they talk about democratic values. On the other hand, they invest in a country which gives a damn to democratic values, which doesn't care about any human rights. So I believe that investments will come out of China, but I don't believe they will come into India. They will go into other democracies which can produce cheaper products. For investments to come to India, we needed to create a wonderful infrastructure, physical and social. We don't have a good physical infrastructure, and we have a horrendous social infrastructure. Nobody wants to come to a land of beggars, malnutrition people who die by the age of 55. You don't come and invest in that country. And during these times, I'm sure earlier people never bothered, but during these times, I'm sure people saw the videos of Wuhan. And that's beyond America. People went and invested in China not for nothing. They went and invested in China because they created physical infrastructure and they created human infrastructure. Their people are healthy. They gave food. They gave shelter. They created a great social infrastructure, and the physical infrastructure was better than America. That's why investments went to China. You don't sit here and laugh like fools that today all investments will come out of China and therefore it will come to India. No, they don't come to India like that. Investments don't come to India because they are going to come out of China.
Yeah, I think by default you got unmute. You got mute, Dr. Chaudhuri. If you can unmute, yeah, please.
Sorry, I think.
Yeah, it got mute by default.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Dr. Chaudhuri. Please go on. Yes, Dr. Chaudhuri, we can hear you.
Is there a problem?
No, we can hear you. Please share your views.
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Chaudhuri, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so till where did you hear me?
So the last point that you were sharing, that investment will come out from China, but not necessarily
country just because it is planning to leave another country. It is leaving China doesn't mean it will come to India. It will find its way to another nation with decent social and physical infrastructure. And it is foolish of people to think, I will not create any physical infrastructure. I'll have broken roads, broken power systems, and broken everything. and I will not take care of my people, I'll have like early 19th century social infrastructure for our people. And wait, now infrastructure is going to come to India. We're stupid. Every guy who talks like that is brain dead.
Right. Thank you so much. Excellent point. Now, given this situation, how are we heading towards, and what would you like? What kind of suggestions or specific policy recommendations that you like to give to the government, so that from here, at least we have a strong prime minister, we have a strong political leadership here. They want to do something. What kind of specific policy advice that you would like to give? Because you're part of the planning commission before, and you have to use to advise the governments on time to time basis. What specific recommendations you would like to give?
Akram, yes, you are right. We have a strong leader. I have absolutely no doubt about it. But he needs the right kind of advisors around him. He's got to be told the facts. And if he wants investments really flowing into India, then he's got to have somebody who walks the talk. Somebody maybe like Nitin Gadkari, who's creating infrastructure like nobody's business. He leads from the front. He's got to have somebody like that straight away meeting up people and saying, this is our 5-year outline. This is how I plan to change the infrastructure of this country. And I have delivered in past and I will deliver again. Come and start investing in my country. And somebody with a good track record of caring about humanity, some good economist, some good human being who goes and becomes our face to the world of social infrastructure development, who guarantees that India will take care of its people, who guarantees that when you invest in India, your cost of health-related issues on your workers will not be high because we will take care of their health. Who guarantees that we will give you absolutely brilliant, educated resources who will deliver what you need. So if you want to change the nation, then you got to change, number one, the social security system. It begins with health. And it has to be basic insurance for all, irrespective of job and irrespective of what kind of insurance they carry. If you have any health-related problems, you have insurance, great. You don't have insurance, you will get the best medical facility. And we have to improve the medical facility. It's no use saying that all my people have 5 lakh rupee insurance. 5 lakh rupees insurance to die? What do they do with that 5 lakh rupee insurance? They need the health facility where they can go and use that 5 lakh to live. Are you seeing the kind of videos which are coming out?
Absolutely.
Of Indian hospitals? Now, if I have 5 lakhs and I go to that hospital, will I live? I won't live.
Right.
So we need to genuinely invest in health. We need to genuinely invest in education. We need to genuinely invest in slum eradication. And we need to guarantee a basic universal income to all our people. And simultaneously, we need to focus on infrastructure development. And if we can have a good combination of these two, then we can maybe not expect investments right away, but 5 years down the line. And Modi's popularity is now skyrocketing. He's seen as a leader who delivers. He's seen as a man who saved India from the COVID crisis. And if he can add on these things to his entire, resume, that look here, I'm also doing this. He's going to stay here for another 15 years.
Right. A very bold statement, in fact. So I think the BJP party would be very happy to hear that, and they would to take your suggestions, some of your suggestions from here. Now, coming a very pragmatic and practical assessment, the way we are progressing, the way we are taking initiatives. How do you see which how is India and where is India do you see 10, 20, or 15 years down the line on a very pragmatic parameter and assessment? Second thing, what countries do you think are rising and can be good models for India to follow? So this two parts basically. A very practical assessment maybe on this. And I'll ask one last question.
You see, you began your interview by asking me a question which I didn't answer. You asked me why is religion and capitalism anti-peace and anti-humanity? And I only answered you on capitalism. I didn't answer you on religion. And to understand India or any system, one of the key things that we need to understand is what is the kind of focus that the politicians have on religion. And till we realize that religion stems out of divisiveness, and it is the most unscientific lie that has ever been fed to humanity. And there is no problem, there is absolutely no problem that when we were cavemen and we were unscientific fools and we had absolutely no idea of the world, and suddenly I saw a lightning outside the cave. And then I saw huge thunderstorms and rain. And then I saw my cave got flooded. I got scared. And I thought there's somebody up there who's punishing me. And then I sat down with my family holding each other's hand and saying, "Oh, Lord, who's up there? The Lord of thunderstorm, the Lord of lightning and rain, please stop." And we keep holding our hand, and 7 hours later it stops. And we say that, "Look, we prayed, therefore it stopped." That's fine. Cavemen's intelligence, that's fine. Today, science has told us how thunderstorm happens, how rains happen, how tsunamis happen, how pandemics happen. Science has told us how human beings, there is not one religion, including Hinduism, which has been able to even wildly predict the origin of the universe, Darwin's theory of evolution, how old the earth is, how old the universe is. Somebody says 6,000 years, somebody says 10,000 years. They have absolutely no idea. And these are the books which we read and we feed, and then we want the world to fight. My God is greater than your God, where the fact is, there is no God. The fact is, human beings were not created. Human beings evolved over 4 billion years, out of which 3 billion years, we were unicellular organisms. And only last 1 billion years, we became multicellular organisms. And if you trace the evolution of human beings beyond the chimpanzees and you keep going back, you will end to a fish. Human beings evolved out of a fish. And that's the truth. And if this basic science is not understood by human beings, and they believe that somebody created us, and you believe somebody else created us, I believe somebody else created us, and then we kill each other, saying my belief is more correct than your belief. And then we have a media, day and night, telling that your belief is the worst belief in the universe.
Right.
As if my belief is better. I am also a fool. Because God is an absolute stupid concept of unscientific brains. That's the fact. The fact is that cavemen created God, the concept of God. And the fact is that we should have left it back 100 years, 200 years back. We should have discarded this concept. Instead, we are nurturing it more and more. And on the basis of the concept of creation, I have developed my creator and your creator and religions. And if we have a world which believes in religion, you can never have peace. I have no problem that Akram, your little son or daughter, believes that the Superman that he holds in his hand is true. I have no problem. I have no problem that he goes to sleep in the night holding the Superman close to his heart. I have no problem. I have also no problem when he grows up to become Akram Jr., he still remains intellectually dwarfed enough to be.
Again, you got me. Yeah. Yes, we can hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you
Right.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Chaudhary.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, Dr. Chaudhary. Yeah, we can hear you. So we can hear you.
Akram, am I audible?
Yes. You are audible, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So I have no problem when he grows up and makes a temple in his house, one corner, keeps the Superman out there and says this Superman created the world. Okay. We taught you science in school, but you decided to remain stupid. I have no problem. Please do it at your home. But in public places, in public media discourses, religion should be banned. And in my book, I've written that we must ban religion for children till the age of 18. That means no religious place should allow any kid below the age of 18. And by the time he's 18, that means schools should not have anything to do with religion. No school should have a Saraswati idol in front of it. No school should have any kind of God, any kind of church, any kind of Allah. No school should have anything to do with religion. They should be taught science. At the age of 18, they should be allowed. Now, if you want to believe in religion, go ahead and believe in religion. And trust me, at the age of 18, if you take your son to a temple, to a mosque or a church, and you say, you see that guy crucified out there? He created human beings. He's our God. He will laugh. Children will roll on the floor laughing. That, Papa, come on. Do you even know how human beings were created? You actually worship a stone idol? This is where you used to leave me every Sunday and go to? At the cost of spending 2 hours with me every Sunday, you used to disappear to this unscientific place and pray? When you had a pandemic, did any prayer bring any dead man alive? When you had a pandemic, where was your God? Somebody from Indian media will say, of course God was there. I was using God to divide India. So, if you ask me where are we headed towards, I don't want to answer.
Right. It's pretty much clear from
I can tell you how to make the world.
Right.
Yes. I can make country better. better economic system, a better world. You ask me where we are headed towards, everybody is seeing. We are, I don't need to tell you, you have understood.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. Last question. How are you spending
Yes.
your time during the lockdown? On a lighter note, and we have seen what IIPM did when it came as an organization to transform the education in the management sphere. We have seen when Planman Media came, what Planman Media did in the media space. What new or different are we going to see? What are the future plans that we're going to see from Dr. Arindam Chaudhary? Two questions together.
Look, against IIPM,
For only
you
five
know,
minutes.
there was the biggest jealousy driven fake news campaign
Yes,
ever
sir.
in this country. And you know how people, media lied together that IIPM gave degrees. We never gave degrees. We were giving our own certificate. They said we have to be under AICT, UGC. Absolutely no. It's a free country. I can teach you under a tree. I can give you a certificate. Nobody can stop me. But because we became big, therefore lies were pelted in mass by people whom I considered idiots. And I never tried to hide my feelings towards the so-called journalists and media. And that's why we made our media house, because we wanted to create a media house of intelligent people and not fools. And that is why, Akram, when you were there in 2005, we did a cover story on pandemic before anybody else in the world did. And in that cover story, we wrote what is a pandemic and what can happen if India or the world is struck by a pandemic. In that story, which is still there on the net, you will find that we wrote that there is going to be quarantine, there's going to be tomorrow, CEOs and world leaders might start dying, and 50 million people might be left dead. And all of those scares are today true. Now, we have only focused on intellectual development of our students and tried to take that to the public and hope that the education that we wanted to spread is of use to humanity, is of use to people, the masses, is can spread goodness, can create entrepreneurship, and we didn't want to be under the government, and that's our wish. But people didn't like my ponytail, maybe my lifestyle, maybe, and the growth of IIPM, the that we became the world's largest business school, is something that they couldn't take. And therefore, through lies in the court of law, we were told that we can't advertise anymore by using the words MBA and BBA. And obviously, if we can use MBA and BBA, which is what management is what we were, and management is what we were teaching, and our entire campaign was dare to think beyond MBA, BBA. And if we can't use that, then obviously we can't exist. But fortunately, last August, we got a Supreme Court verdict which basically quashed all the cases against us that AICT was fighting for the last 12 years. And therefore, it kind of clarifies that IIPM is free to teach its programs without interference of AICT, which is so logical. As long as I don't claim to be under AICT, I should be able to. It's not a technical education. We teach entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship can be taught by anybody. And so now we are going to restart offering our programs, and we are going to now make sure that our world-class education, which impacted thousands of lives directly inside the classroom and millions of lives outside the classroom through our lectures, books, and magazines, is now brought back in a manner that it is available to the last person in this country. I'm going to now make an institute for the poorest of poor. because giving education to the rich is a futile exercise. And in your batch, if you remember, we had students from Alamein coming in,
Right.
and we gave them free education, exceptional education. And now we are going to take our education to that last man standing, to whom our education is going to be valuable,
Absolutely.
and not to a community who wants to maintain status quo, who's trying to question you about where is your recognition. I'm not recognized. I don't need recognition of fools who run education ministry. I want to be recognized as a good institution by my standards of excellence. But the fools who were running education ministry, they couldn't take it. So they filed cases after cases on us. And it was a 12-year battle that we had to undertake. But after 12 years, we can now say that we are free again. And we are again going to give our world-class, exceptional education taught by exceptional teachers, committed to humanity, committed to goodness, committed to intellectual development to the world. And that's all that I think about and plan.
Excellent. Dr. Arindam Chaudhuri, economist, management guru, author, speaker, transformation leader, and more than that, he's a thinker who thinks from out of the box and think differently. I think I totally agree with the final point that you said, that degree does not make someone educated. And I have been practicing that same principle since I have learned from IIPM, that my success had or has nothing to do with the degree I hold, but the things that I've learned in my college, things that I've learned during my first job, my work with Planman Media, IIPM think tank, and teaching hundreds and hundreds of students of IIPM. So these the kind of research, the quality of research we have done is exceptional, and I think I will never pursue PhD just for the sake of it, just to prove that I am also an educated one. And there are hundreds who come to my shows. There are many we meet often. They believe and agree that okay, this guy is literate, educated. He doesn't need any education to convince me that come to my show. So that's the kind of, I think, education. So it's about the environment. It's about the platform that our education institutes provide. And IIPM was certainly one of the kind of institutions that we have learned from, coming from such remote background of India and from the rural India. Thank you so much, Professor Chaudhary. 2 points.
So amazing to hear all this from you, Akram. So beautifully said. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for these beautiful ending lines. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. 2 points. Dr. Chaudhary's point of view came very clear, that capitalism promotes sustainable of the fittest, which does not go hand in hand with the survival of the weakest. Hence, we need to work out and find better solutions as to, while we take care of the weakest, we bring a best model. And there, this point comes from Dr. Chaudhary very clear, that educate and take care of your people, they will make India a superpower. They will make the country a superpower. Thank you so much. Keep watching the Policy Times. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us.